session resumed. We weren't able to get back exactly at 1:45, but we at least didn't have to wait until 2 o'clock. Mr. Ramaphosa, you're still on oath. Mr. Mpofu, do you have any more questions for the witness? Couple as in two?
No.
Or 200?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, Mr. Ramaphosa, we were still busy with quadruple B 4.2. And just to recap, what I was saying to you is that in these arrangements, and there should be no need for me to say this to you as chairman of the Transformation Committee and former chairperson of the Black Empowerment Commission. But insofar as it is necessary, one of the things that the BEE partners should bring to bear in that relationship is, as I said, a different perspective. Would you agree with that?
Sometimes, yes.
Yes. It's not just about money. It's not just about getting into a deal and making money, but it's also about transforming, in the literal sense of the word, the organization as well. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. So that it's a duty of a person in your position is not just to be a conveyor belt of the views of the Albert Jamisons of this world, and simply take them to a minister, and say, well, this is what Mr. Albert Jamison's view is, therefore you must change your view. Surely that is against every principle that is what is be expected of somebody in your position. I mean now, just in your capacity as a partner, as a business partner. Would that be a fair statement to make?
Could be.
Yes. Now, therefore, what we are really saying here is that Mr. Jamison may or may not hold the view legitimately that the situation can only be resolved or cannot be resolved without political intervention and needs this to be stabilized by the police or the army. Yours was to disabuse him of that notion rather than simply going to parrot that view with Minister Shabangu. Would that be a fair criticism?
Well, let me say that in as far as the acts of violence and the deaths that were occurring, I agreed that these were acts of criminality. So it was not even a hard push for him to convince me. And this had also been articulated by other people, the National Union of Mine Workers, the General Secretary of the National of Mine Workers had said as much, yes, that in as far as the violence and the killings that were happening, we were facing a criminal action type of situation. So Jamison did not need to be convincing me, and I did not need to be his conveyor belt in as far as this is concerned.
Yeah. Let me explain something to you. And this is something that the chairperson and I think, developed on this point to assist another witness. There are three situations which can be used to characterize what was happening there. Okay? A would be to say it's only industrial action. Okay? B would be to say it's only criminal acts. And C would be to say it's a hybrid, it's obviously an industrial action which has developed criminal elements. Do you appreciate the distinction between those three?
Yes.
Yeah. it was, if you look at it that way, in as much as, let's assume then that, or rather, let me put it to you that our argument is going to be that the situation that was obtaining there was the hybrid situation. And therefore, to say that it is not an industrial relations issue would be as false as to say it is not a matter that involves criminality, because it's a combination of both. Do you understand that? Pardon?
Yes, I understand.
Yes. So that is the nub of the issue. If you look at the email properly, that's exactly the fallacy that it portends. It says that the minister says it's a labor issue which can be resolved and so on and so on. But it says in each case, it should, rather, the DG in each case, and I've characterized this as not an industrial relations issue, but a civil criminal. In other words, it's one or the other, not the hybrid that you and I have agreed on. Do you understand?
Well, I don't know whether I've agreed with you on the hybrid.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Well, of those ABC, do you think it was a hybrid or do you think it was only an
The way I understand it, Mr. Mpofu, is that this issue started off as an industrial if you
relations
like,
issue?
Yes, if one can put it that way.
Sure.
And it started mutating or started becoming a very criminal issue where people were now getting killed. And the point is the killing of the people was so bad and in a way so savage that the issue of it being a labor relations issue at that time as people are getting killed becomes diluted because we are now facing a criminal issue where people are getting killed.
Yes, that's fine. But just as you have agreed that in the 1987 strike there were people who were killed and non-strikers were killed, that was criminal. You and I agree on that. Okay? But that did not mutate or transform or change the 1987 strike from stopping becoming an industrial dispute. You understand? So I'm not denying. I'm the last person who's going to say, oh, no, there was no criminality. But I'm saying this was at the root cause of this was a labor dispute.
Yes, that's where it started.
Yes.
Indeed.
No, that's where it started and that's where it finished. It was resolved in September by negotiation as a labor dispute.
Precisely.
Yes.
Yes.
It never stopped being a labor dispute. The point here is that what Jamieson and you were doing incorrectly was to put pressure or whatever means you used to say to Minister Susan Shabangu, this is not, capital letter N-O-T, an industrial relations issue, but a criminal act, which is false.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, I'm glad at least we agree on that. Yes?
What do we agree on, Mr.
Well,
Mpofu?
you just said yes. What were you saying yes to?
I was saying yes to the way you were articulating. I didn't know you were leading to a question. What is the question?
Okay. I'm saying, I'll repeat it gladly.
The problem is you make statements with respect,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. You make statements and you then lead me to say
Yes. No, fair
and
enough.
it's not really a question.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
And if it is a question, I'm then able to evaluate it and respond to it.
Okay. When I make the statement, the minute I say at the end, do you agree? You must assume there's a question mark at the end of that. So it's a question. Okay? Yeah. I'm saying to you, it was false to characterize the situation as only a criminal act. Yes?
I think where the intervention that I was making, Mr. Mpofu, is directed at stopping the killings. That is where I come in.
No. We've gone through that. I don't want to go
And
back
that
there.
is how the characterization then comes, that we are dealing here with what Jamieson has painted as civil unrest, destabilization, and that's where I enter.
Yes, but my criticism is that you swallowed that theory.
I may well have swallowed the theory, but that is the situation that I was confronted with.
No,
The killings of people.
no. It's not that easy. If you go to triple B 4.5, you now yourself now, let's put Jamieson out. You are saying when you are writing to him, I thank you for the consistent manner in which you are characterizing the current difficulties we're going through.
Yes,
That's you now.
indeed.
And then you say the terrible events that have unfolded. I'm sorry, Chairperson.
Thank you. What happened was that all we had on the screen was the letter from Mr. Jamieson. What you wanted was a letter to Mr. Jamieson, which is now on the screen.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you. You then, I want to reread the first part.
Sure.
You then say, the terrible events that have unfolded cannot be described as a labor dispute.
Yes.
They are plainly, dastardly criminal acts and must be characterized as such. In other words, what you are doing here again is to extend the false notion that it cannot be an industrial, a labor dispute, which, I'm sorry, I'm going to come no. I just want to just to save time, to cross-refer you to what you said to Ms. Ngube.
Yes.
At quadruple J1, which runs counter to this new Ramaphosa Jamieson theory of saying it's not, but you know what I mean, that ABC. Yeah. You said that this is a grave situation, which is probably true. And then you say, the problem with this situation is that we know the cause of it.
Yes.
The real cause is the huge differential between the wages paid to the RDOs in other companies and what we pay them.
Yes.
That's the real cause. You knew that all along. Okay? I called it the root cause, real cause, root cause. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yes. Now, if this is the real cause or the root cause of the situation, then surely it must be false to say it is not a labor relations issue. That must follow, please, Mr. Ramaphosa.
Soon after this, people start getting killed. And that is what, as I said earlier, Mr. Mpofu, what I am dealing with. I am trying to make an intervention for the prevention of further loss of life to other people. That is where I enter.
Yes, that we accept.
I don't know whether that is clear or not.
No, it's been clear all along.
Okay.
That's what you claim, which
Yes.
I'm contesting. I'm saying you wouldn't, if you knew what the root cause is, you, of all people, would not resolve a problem. You've been negotiating conflicts for a long time. You know that you can't resolve a problem just at the branches. The root cause, and ignore the root cause, what you have identified yourself as the root cause. It's like trying to resolve the conflict in South Africa by saying, these people must live here and these others must live here, and not understanding that the root cause was apartheid and the root cause was the unfairness of the situation, or in your case of the NUM, as you always said in your speeches, the root cause was the migratory system and so on. You surely, you don't expect anyone to believe that you, of all people, would ignore the root cause and say it is not, in capital letters, part of the problem.
Mr. Mpofu, I was dealing here with a situation where people were getting killed.
Yes, but
and my interventions were aimed at reducing further loss of life.
Yes, and the only way you could have done that sensibly and logically was to address the root cause. Surely you must agree with that.
We wanted to stabilize the situation, and it's very clear what the objective was. Stabilize the situation, prevent further deaths, get the situation normalized, and get those who are responsible for these acts of violence to be identified and to be arrested. And thereafter, when the situation is normalized, then you then be able to embark on various other initiatives that can more fully consolidate the situation.
Yeah, but I'm saying, Mr. I understand that. All I'm saying is that
Thank you.
that is a cockeyed way of looking at the problem. If you really wanted to prevent further deaths, you would have dealt with the underlying issue, which you've identified here, and say, let's resolve as you say in your nice article in the Sunday Times, we must learn to resolve. You use that word advisedly, to resolve conflicts. You can never resolve conflict by ignoring or turning a deliberate blind eye to the root cause.
Mr. Mpofu, it's possible that we differ on this one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's what we're going to argue. And the issue that and in fairness I must put to you, is that if you do that, then it means that effectively you were simply assimilated into the way of thinking of the Lonmin management. And you did not play your duty or your role of using the skills that you've accumulated in order to change their thinking. And to that extent, you sold out.
I do not agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And what is worse, and I'm sure you don't agree with me as well, but I have to put it to you. What is worse is that you did this what I've described, for financial gain and at the expense of the lives of the very people whose lives you were meant to transform. And therefore, it's like selling out for 30 pieces of silver.
Mr. Mpofu, I must tell you that financial gain was not really even an issue. Shanduka invested 300 million rand into this transaction or into this company, and that 300 million rand was lost as early as 2011. So we were not even talking about financial gain. In fact, it was a catastrophic financial loss for Shanduka. So financial gain was not even part of it. We did not even expect to recoup any of the investment, nor do we even begin to think that we will recoup the investment. So to that effect, it's written off.
Well, that I don't think it can be that easy. Surely, by you staying in the investment, you, A, did not want to suffer any further financial loss, or B, were hoping that the situation would turn around. Well, otherwise, why would anyone? It would be senseless to stay.
We have thought many times over whether we need to just abandon it and walk away, or just stay in. So that's a debate that is still on the table. Yes,
but for now you are in.
Well, Shanduka is still in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And remember also that you paid 300 million rand for this investment.
Yes.
And 2.5 billion was actually provided by Lonmin.
Yes.
Yes.
As a debt on fairly fair debt financing conditions and everything else.
No, I
Thank you.
that. Vendor financing, it's called.
And it's still owed. It's still money that's owed.
Yeah. Another reason for you to stay in. Yeah. Now, I'm saying that You have said, and I'll paraphrase just to save time, when you were being interviewed by Mr. Xolani Gwala after the Marikana issue.
Yes.
He said to you, what's wrong with Lonmin as an asset? And your answer was, it's a good asset, it has good fundamentals, but the cost structure has just been rising, and the settlement that has now been reached is going to put pressure on the cost of the company. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, as happens with any company,
yes.
Whenever you increase your costs.
In other
it's
words,
a fundamental law of economics and finance that when you increase your costs, it puts pressure.
Yeah, even I am aware of that.
Thank you.
But I'm saying that the point here is that what you were articulating to Mr. Gwala was that the increase that was given to the workers was inimical to your financial interest in that it was increasing the cost structure.
No, it was not inimical. It was not inimical. It was an increase that was given which was absorbed by the company. The company agreed that they would absorb it. And if you do that, you've got to realize that your costs go up. There's nothing wrong in talking about your cost structure going up. Okay. If you don't talk about it, then you're not running a good business.
Exactly. And there is that's exactly the point I'm making. The running of a good business is otherwise known as maximizing profit, which is what you were after.
Being in business means you want to make profit.
Yes.
And it's like being, for instance, in the public sector, you want to make sure that there is a good return for the citizens of the country so that there can be social service delivery.
Yes.
It's as simple as all that.
Yes, it's very simple.
Yes.
It's profit maximization. You don't get into business for any other reason except to maximize your profit.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Now, and I don't want to belabor this point. All I'm saying is that let's just say you were not in favor of the wage settlement that was reached with the workers.
There's no statement, no position, no evidence to suggest that we are not in favor. I have been in favor of getting workers to get a really good wage.
No, but you spoke against that settlement.
I did not speak against the settlement.
Okay, well, this is what you said.
Is this an exhibit?
Yes, Chairperson. It's a new
exhibit.
Audio video, yes, audio visual that we've submitted. Yeah, maybe it can be played.
It's not an exhibit. It hasn't been given an exhibit number. That's not an objection to it, but just
fair enough.
Enter it on the record.
Yes. No.
So this will be triple. Sorry, I always go triple. This will be quadruple J11. And what is it? A video?
It's a video. It's kind of a collage. That
how do I describe it in
you can say it's a video that has audio and video material of interviews with Mr. Ramaphosa.
Have
Could
we
I
seen
ask
it?
my learned friend to just identify it in the index that you've received?
Yeah. It's
I've been given.
It's item number 24.
I was given the provisional list. I haven't got the latest one. But
Yeah.
you said so how is it described in the index?
Chairperson, we have actually, if you look at the index.
Well, I haven't got the index. 24. Just tell me what's.
All right. Let me then start with my learned friend. It's a combination of 23 and 24 on the index. Chairperson, 23 is video interview with Mr. Rihad Desai, and 24 is audio interview with Xolani Gwala. It's a combo of the two.
So combination of is it TV interviews, is it? Or radio, or TV and radio? A combination of interviews.
Yes.
By Mr. Ramaphosa with Mr. Desai, Mr. R. Desai, I think his initial, and Mr. I think he's X, isn't he? Alani. And Mr. X Gwala.
Yes. Okay. And they're
going to be exhibits. We've got to see them quickly. How long are they going to take?
It's very short, Chairperson. Now I'm going to do very short.
Let's have them quickly. Then.
Yes. The exhibit itself is long, but what I'm going to deal with here. If you can go to 1545. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yes, it is 1545.
Seem to be stuck. Oh, here we go. 1545, you say. So
Yes.
we go back a little bit. It's 1556 at the moment. There we are. 1544. Let's see the
Let's
watch
start,
the video.
maybe start at 1540. Just
Go back a bit to 1540,
Sure.
please. No, now we're back to 30.
oh,
Oh, no. 1543. Is that good enough?
yes, that's good. Now, should
Right,
be.
let's watch it from now on.
A blemish on that, on the collective bargaining system and all that. And Vavi was absolutely correct yesterday in saying that the Marikana wage settlement is a very dangerous precedent. And I agree with that. It is a dangerous precedent because it means that the collective bargaining system in the mining industry has actually been, torn apart. And
But what were the options? You living with a situation.
That's
I
all
would
right.
say that I think that someone please take in hand at preparing a transcript of that for us. So that will be also part of the exhibit to make it easier for us to handle.
Yes,
So that's
Chairperson.
just a little piece that you want
Yes,
to refer to.
for now. Yes, thank you, Chairperson. We'll ensure that happens. You'd agree that clip is not exactly indicating what you're saying. It does indicate that you were not in favor, to put it nicely, of the settlement.
No, that's not putting it nicely at all. That is being taken out of context. What we were talking about is the bargaining system in the mining industry. That what you have is a situation where one company offers an increase and the others offer completely different types of increases. And that is what leads to raising expectations amongst workers
Yes.
who work in the same industry for different companies. And I still hold the view that is dangerous.
It's a bad thing.
It is not a good thing. It is
Yes.
actually very dangerous. What you need to do is, and this is what we were talking about. We were not talking specifically about this one. We were talking about its impact as well on the whole collective bargaining system in the industry.
No, that's not true.
Okay?
You said that the Marikana wage settlement
Yes.
sets a dangerous precedent. There was only one Marikana wage settlement at that time. It was this one. It was not. What I'm saying is that you thought it was a bad thing for all the good reasons you've
No,
put.
I would not agree that that is what you mean for this one, because we were talking also about what happened at Impala, what happened here as well, and we were actually talking about a more centralized collective bargaining system.
Anyway.
Mr. Ramaphosa, may I ask you this? You did talk about it being bad for the collective bargaining system. Now, you've already told us that you believe there should be centralized
Yes.
wage bargaining in the platinum industry, as it is in coal and gold.
Indeed.
But that isn't the case and hasn't been the case for a long time.
Yeah.
So there's still collective bargaining in the platinum industry, even though it's not centralized.
Yes.
But you said this particular one was bad for the collective bargaining system. Now, what I want to know from you is this. Were you concerned about the contents of the agreement, or were you more concerned about the method and the consequences of that particular method being adopted in future for the collective bargaining system?
It is more the latter that I was more concerned about.
Yes, well,
Thank you.
the latter, the former, the whatever, but it was not a good thing. Correct?
As
The latter was the method, you see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's-
So,
Whether
in other
it's
words,
the-
were you, sorry, let me just, just to get clarity, were you opposed to the RDOs getting the extra money which the agreement involved, or were you opposed to the fact that it was got in a particular manner outside the pre-existing collective bargaining system with possible knock-on effects for the future?
I was not opposed to the RDO getting extra increases. I was more concerned about the system itself that had given rise to this, because it needs to be wholesome and it needs to apply right across the industry to avoid precisely this problem that we had. And it had started at Impala, and Impala had gone off on their own and granted this increase. It would have been a lot better if all companies had agreed that this should be the going rate for all the RDOs, and all of them had agreed to pay that, and we would not have had this problem.
With respect, Mr. Ramaphosa, I think that is untruthful, because you've now forgotten the first clip that we played, where you say that the settlement has now been reached is going to put pressure on the cost of the company.
Yeah, but it is true. Any settlement does put pressure, and the companies, it behoves on the company thereafter to realign all their cost centers and cost structures.
Sure. But for the workers who get the money, it's a good thing, obviously.
It is a good thing.
Yeah, and for
it is a good.
The
and
company
for the company,
that is paying, it impacts on the cost structure.
It does impact on the cost structure, and I think if one needs to understand how companies work.
Oh.
I mean, companies need to watch their cost structure all the time.
Yes, and it's a bad thing to increase your cost structure if you are a company. Even I understand that.
No, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there are
How do you
things
maximize profits?
you need to look at all these cost
Carry on,
structures.
Yeah.
Mr.
Listen.
Sorry, before you carry on, you talked about the other clip. Now, in fact, we've only heard this one. You did give us a quotation from the other.
That's true,
but we
Chairperson.
didn't actually hear it.
Fair
I think
enough.
we should hear it. We'll see
Yes,
it, depending
yes.
on what it is.
Thank
and
you.
then we'll best be able to judge
Yes.
how accurate your summary is. I'm not suggesting it's inaccurate, but we'll be best able to judge.
Yes, no, fair enough. If you go to 1140 till 1200.
Healthcare that's now been restored. And a few years ago, our life expectancy was at 55 years. It's now gone to 60 years within a short space of time. Many people in the medical world say it is unprecedented, it is unheard of. So the pluses are enormous on building up to this economic dividend.
No,
And that economic dividend is not yet glass full. It is half glass full. Our people want more,
Is this what you want?
and they deserve
Now,
more.
could you please stop this one? This is. It's interesting to hear about the glass is half full and the glass is half empty. But it's not relevant to the question being asked.
No.
So let's get the relevant section.
Yes. Chairperson,
It doesn't deal with half empty or half full glasses, but deals with something else.
It is with how the settlement puts pressure on the cost of the company. We'll find it. We'll come back to Chairperson with your permission. Now, this was a remarkable achievement, if I may say so.
Which one, Mr. Mpofu?
The one I'm just about to...
The half
Tell
full
you.
glass or the full glass?
No, the half full glass is irrelevant.
Okay.
Tell us now, let us into the secret now what the achievement is that he's talking about.
Yes.
What's this achievement, Mr.
Well, if I'm
Or
allowed
is
to
it
speak,
an underachievement or an overachievement? What an achievement is?
it's an overachievement in this case.
On whose part?
On yours, Mr. Ramaphosa.
Enlighten me.
Yes. To manage to change a minister of minerals in the space of about 4 to 5 hours from her characterization of the situation is an overachievement. Wouldn't you agree? Not everyone can manage that. To get a minister of state to change, make a 360-degree turn. Okay, yes. It's 180. Yes.
Sorry. You're referring to Triple B 4.2.
Yes.
The minister, quote, the minister was on radio today saying she'd been briefed that this was a wage dispute and management and union should sit down and sort it out.
Right.
Then that was
That's
what
the one.
caused the witness to speak to her.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that was what I call the conveyor belt, the message, where the witness was the messenger. But be that as it may, it was a remarkable feat. Would you agree?
I wouldn't call it a remarkable feat. No, I wouldn't call it a remarkable feat.
Yeah, I suppose it's where it comes from. Well, some of us don't have that amount of influence. So for a normal person, it would be remarkable who didn't wield as much power as you do. Would it?
For a normal person, I don't know what that means, Mr.
Well,
Pope.
for someone other than a person who wields an enormous amount of political power, to change a minister's view in the space of 4 to 5 hours would be a remarkable achievement. Would you agree?
No, I wouldn't agree.
So you think any citizen of South Africa can just somewhere hear a minister saying something on the radio at 9, and within a matter of hours, that same minister somehow changes the view completely?
Yes, it is possible.
It's possible.
Yes.
Oh, I want to live in that country.
Wouldn't it depend on how erroneous the view the minister had originally expressed was, and what degree of extra facts had to be put to the minister to persuade the minister that her original view was erroneous?
Well,
where what she said had been what she'd been briefed, it mightn't be so difficult to rebrief her and give her extra facts that hadn't been brought to her attention earlier. So it's not necessarily remarkable.
It's a fair question.
It depends on the facts, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a fair question. The answer to that is that issue doesn't even arise. An average citizen would not even be able to speak to the minister in that short space of time. But
then the feat is getting access to the minister rather than persuading the minister to come to other insights.
Well, it's both. It's both, because you can't do the one without the other. So if you can't even reach her, then you can't influence her. The witness, managed both feats: to speak to her, to have a meeting with her, and to change her view. Actually, there are 3 remarkable feats in the space of a few hours. And you say that an average citizen can achieve this?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. As I said, I'd like to live in that country. No, the reality, Mr. Ramaphosa, and you know it, is that you achieved that purely because of the political power and the political influence that you wield, which your partners at Lonmin were sending you to wield, and which you did so dutifully. Isn't that correct?
No.
And you said yesterday that they asked you to go to speak to the minister because you can. Is that correct? Something like that.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah.
I have the ability to talk to the minister. I have the ability to talk to people.
Yeah, which they don't have as average citizens.
Well, they also have.
Oh, then why on earth, if Mr. Filimo wanted Ms. Shabangu to change her characterization like a normal citizen like me, why did he need you to be his messenger?
Maybe you should ask Mr. Filimo.
Well, you should have asked Mr. Filimo. That's what I'm saying. Why did you say, if you are truthful, which I suggest you are not, in saying that anybody can do this, then you should have said, Mr. Filimo, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Just pick up the phone, fly to Cape Town, and the minister will change the characterization in 4 hours. Don't bother me. You didn't do that because you knew that the difference between you and him is that you wield a considerable amount of political power, which you wanted to use and transform it into political pressure, with the outcome, the fast, instant outcomes that it indeed achieved.
No, I just had access to her.
Yes. The access was such that she would say to you, not only have I changed my characterization, but I'm actually going to take this to cabinet and brief the president. Anybody in South Africa can do that. That's your evidence. Are you being serious?
No, I'm being very serious.
Yes.
But what is your question, Mr.
The
Mpofu?
question is that your evidence that any citizen of South Africa can hear something on the radio, fly to Cape Town, meet with the minister, and the minister then undertakes to take it to the president and the cabinet within the space of 4 to 5 hours. Is that your evidence? Is that your serious evidence?
It is not for me to judge whether any citizen in South Africa would have that ability. And when somebody does have access, then they can use it. They can. I suppose you too could have access to other people, which many other people would not have. We demonstrated it with my conversation with you yesterday. There are many other councils who do not have access to me, and you had access to me, and we agreed that we are going to do certain things.
Don't start with
so
me,
it's
Mr.
not,
Ramaphosa.
It's not.
Don't you start with me. You know that I told you yesterday, you called me to come to you. Please don't start with me.
Let's leave it there.
Yeah. Let's stick to the truth.
Let's leave
if you
it
want
there.
to tell Phoebe,
Let's leave it there, Mr. Mpofu.
Well, don't start with
Carry
me.
on with your question.
Yeah, just answer my question.
Let's bury those two battle axes and
All
carry
right.
on with the case.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah. No, you must understand what's happening here, okay? I ask you questions, you answer them. You don't make snide remarks, and I don't make snide remarks. As the chairperson calls it, you don't raise the temperature, and the temperature will remain calm. Otherwise, you'll get 10 times of what you give. Okay? All right. Now.
Mr. Mpofu, that's a threat. I don't like witnesses being threatened in my court or before my commission.
Well, no,
let's carry
it's
on.
a promise, Chairperson. It's not a threat.
It sounds like a threat to me. But anyway, let's
Okay.
carry on with the
Thanks.
case.
Okay. This Mr. Phil Jamieson said to you, the two big things in his email were the characterization and the police numbers. Remember that?
Yes.
Yes. And then he says, the parting shot, he says to you, if you can talk to the minister, please, can you influence these things with her and encourage her to make time to talk to Roger? Now, I think he was just being polite. Really, what he was saying is that use your political influence to ensure that these things happen. Would you like to comment? That's what I'm saying. That's the interpretation which I will place onto that particular...
well, he asked me, he did ask me, as it's clearly set out there, which I've admitted that he said, we're facing a terrible situation, and it would be good if the minister could also talk to Roger. Yes.
Yeah. And you were not as diplomatic as he is. You said that you are absolutely correct in insisting, that's the word you use, that the minister needs to understand, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, I will stress that Minister Shabangu should have a discussion with Roger.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. This was stress, insisting. Those are not things you do, in a relationship of equals, as it were. You were insisting on certain things. You were stressing certain things. Mr. Jamieson would not have been in a position, because of his lack of your political power, to stress or insist on what the minister should or should not say. Do you accept that?
I don't know what the question is.
Do you accept that?
What do I accept?
What I've just put to you.
No,
Chair, again, my learned friend has now repeatedly been making long statements, and again, they are always followed up. Do you accept that? It's not. One has to frame a question around a particular passage. What did a word mean? Phrase a pointed question. These long soliloquies followed by "Do you accept that?" is really not a helpful way of engaging in questioning.
Well, you've heard what Mr. Umtalt has suggested.
I've heard.
Why not follow his advice for a moment or two and see how far we get?
Do you accept that Mr. Jamieson was not in a position, unlike you, to insist and stress what a minister must or must not say.
He was not in a position like me to insist.
Thank you. Thank you. And it gets better. You then say at triple B 4.6, after you've now said that she has now miraculously corrected her characterization, she's going to... Yes, that's my insert, miraculously, which I put. Or in that feat that you and I were talking about. You then say, she's going to cabinet and will brief the president and get the Minister of Police, Natim Teta, to act in a more pointed way.
Yes.
That's what she told you. Or that's what you asked her to do.
That's what I said.
Yes.
Yes.
And when you are saying he must act in a more pointed way, surely you meant that he must act fast and act decisively. Correct?
As I said yesterday on describing what pointed way meant, I did say that I expected that the police should do what they do, which is their job, investigating crime, identifying the perpetrators of crime, and arresting them.
No, but Mr. Ramaphosa, that's laughable. You can't be flying to Cape Town just to say to the police, you must be police. They know that they must arrest people. They know that they must identify criminals. Why did you have to waste your money, your airtime, and your breath to state the obvious? That can't be the reason.
He's already said he was flying to Cape Town anyway to launch the National Development Plan. So he wasn't wasting his airtime. He was going to Cape Town, but he was using time while he was there for this particular purpose.
No, Chairperson.
Your question is over-egged.
No, I think you Chairperson, understandably, maybe you don't ask. The concept of airtime has something to do with cell phones, Chairperson. Yeah.
Oh, yes,
So,
thank you. Yes, I'd overlooked that. Thank you for drawing my attention to that.
Yeah, that's fine. Can you answer the question, please?
Mr. Mpofu, it may be laughable to you with regard to what I did, but I did precisely what I described yesterday, and I did precisely what I have just said to you. And you dismiss it as being laughable.
No. Okay, maybe laughable is putting it too high. All I'm saying is that it would be redundant.
That's
to say
what
the least.
That's what you say, but that's exactly what happened.
No, but okay, let's listen to it. If you fly from one place to another just to tell a teacher that they must teach children, would you think that's a useful utilization of time and traveling resources?
Mr. Mpofu, I think we're splitting hairs here. I did answer the question yesterday. I've just answered it. I'll answer it again. What I said to you was that I went there and communicated to the minister, and we said, like the Minister of Police to communicate that they should act in a pointed way. What does pointed way mean? It means that we've got a situation, a very dangerous situation out there, and we would like the police to intervene, to stabilize the situation, to investigate, arrest the perpetrators of crime and those who are killing people, and stabilize the situation. That's what pointed way means.
No, I put it to you that pointed way in this context meant the concomitant action which you wanted to be taken against these people that you had recharacterized as criminals, which is that they should be brutally murdered as they were.
Mr. Mpofu,
Chair, no.
That's again putting something as a proven fact it isn't. I understand.
Okay, brutally killed. Well, I'm using the witness's own expressions.
Mr. Semenya's got his light on. Perhaps we should both listen to him.
Brutal murder comes from the witness, as long as...
Mr. Semenya's got his light on. Mr. Semenya?
Chair, even a witness may have their own description of the event, but it surely it's incumbent on us as a commission sitting here, Chair, with respect, that the proper language and description of things be done. And I may even add, we owe it to all ourselves to address witnesses properly. The language that is used in these hearings is really unbecoming. And I beseech you, Chair, I implore you, we depend on your guidance for the proper conduct of this hearing.
Well, Chairperson, with the greatest respect, I beseech you as well to allow me to use the language employed by the witness to a particular witness. If another witness had said the people had been hugged and kissed, then I would use that expression. This witness has said brutal murder in his statement at 13, which I showed you earlier.
He was talking about the events of the 13th. I'm not sure of the events of the 13th. I'm not sure if he still adheres to that, because I understood him to say it was based on his understanding of the facts, and it was suggested that the evidence before us may be slightly different. But in any event, it's a disputed fact at the moment before us, whether what happened on the 13th, that the police killed 3 of the strikers,
that's what he thinks,
was a murder or not. That's still a matter that's under debate. So anyway, I'm sure you can ask the question in the way which...
Yes, I can.
In
fact, I had already changed the question. I was just responding to the objection. I'm saying, Mr. Ramaphosa, I'm putting it to you that the pointed way which was going to be communicated to Minister Mthethwa was the concomitant action which you had described needed to be taken against so-called dastardly criminal acts.
Is my learned friend asking what the witness did convey to the minister, as a matter of fact, which would be a question that could be posed? Or is he suggesting that there was some meaning that the witness had in mind that he never conveyed?
Yes.
The question is extraordinarily unclear.
Well,
but again, if I may finish, and then, of course, you can answer. And until these points are clarified as to whether facts are being elicited or whether there is simply a general claim being made that is somehow attributed on some basis, it's really not, again, helpful.
Again, Chairperson, I think that's just, I don't even understand that. I mean, if someone says acting in a more pointed way, obviously that's a figure of speech. Unless if he meant it literally, that they must point guns at these people and shoot them. That, what I'm saying is that I'm busy exploring what the witness meant. I'm assuming in his favor that he was using the word not literally but figuratively.
Mr. Bobo, let's just...
So I don't understand what this...
Tell us again, you told us yesterday,
objection
but
is.
just repeat again. What did you mean by the phrase that get the minister to act in a more pointed way?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I meant that the minister should get the police to do what they do their work. And their work is to identify people who are committing acts of crime, arrest them, and make sure that acts of criminality are brought to an end. That is what I meant. And the Learned Counsel has also brought in this other statement where I referred to concomitant action needs to be taken. I did explain it yesterday in my evidence in chief that when I used the term concomitant action, I meant this. Police must take appropriate steps to make sure that the deaths that were occurring and the violence that was underway must be brought to an end, and we must stabilize the situation. There is no other meaning to those words, and indeed my intention other than what I have described to the Commission.
Yes, no, what I'm putting to you, Mr. Ramaphosa, is that if you wanted to say they must act in an appropriate way, that's what you would have said. You know, you wouldn't have used these terms of concomitant action, act in a pointed way. In any event, you made it clear at the next sentence, let us keep the pressure on them to act correctly. You said that.
Mr. Chairman, I repeat what I said yesterday. I did say, let's put the pressure on them. the pressure on them was meant to say, let us make sure that they act in a way that police normally act, so that people are arrested who are perpetrating all these crimes. That's all I meant.
Yeah. Again, we'll argue that if you simply wanted the police to act naturally as they always do, there's no need to put pressure. What you were putting pressure was for them to do something more, which is what they did in acting in a pointed way, concomitant action, and as a result of the pressure, killing the strikers.
How do you respond to that? It's suggested that you wanted them to do more than the normal. You use the word pressure.
Yeah.
Now, what were they not doing at that stage, to your knowledge, which you thought they should be, to use a gentle word, should be encouraged to do?
Mr. Chairman, some people had become killed, and as they got killed, we realized that a very dangerous situation was unfolding and underway, and we wanted the police to have a presence that would prevent further deaths from happening. Further deaths from happening would easily be prevented by the police having a presence, being seen, but more importantly, being able to arrest those who were perpetrating those acts. And the arrest part is important to underscore, because it would have meant that those acts would not be repeated, and those who may well have wanted to perpetrate these acts would not do so, because police would be in place and they would be able to make sure that they arrest those who were perpetrating these acts.
Mr. Ramaphosa, you got an email which is BBB4, which is page 12 of your bundle, and attached, and that was on, it was from Mr. Phillimore, and that was on the 14th of August, that's the Tuesday.
Yes.
4:28 p.m. Attached to it was an update on the situation,
Yes.
which had been prepared by Tanya. That's at page 13 of your bundle. It's part of this exhibit BBB4.
Yes.
Now, what it says in the first paragraph, I won't read the whole first paragraph, but perhaps it could be put up on the screen. The fourth paragraph says, following this, that's following the last 24 hours, that's on the 13th, 2 policemen fatally wounded during clashes. Following this, the National Police Commissioner visited our operation to assess the situation and lend support. Police numbers have increased further, and the intention is to increase them to between 800 and 1,000. Overnight, the police have been developing a strategy and so forth.
Yes.
Which aimed at peacefully corralling the mobs of people who have been gathering daily on the property and arresting those suspected to be involved in criminal activity.
Yes.
So you were already told on the Tuesday that the police were intending to bring 800 to 1,000 people. In fact, evidence, I think, indicates that they had approximately that number of police men and women on the scene at the time.
Yeah.
They had this strategy aimed at corralling the people and then arresting those suspected to have been involved.
Yes.
Now, what extra, if anything, did you want? You were told on the Tuesday that that was what the police were going to do.
Yes.
So what extra did you want them to do?
Well,
what did you want that would be, quote, more pointed, unquote, than that?
Well, more pointed is well, the people who had perpetrated these acts had not been arrested. Nobody who had done so had been apprehended. And that's what a person like myself would have wanted to see. So that would have been part of the more pointed action that needed to be taken. So that what was prominent in my mind and thinking, Mr. Chairman, was that those who were perpetrating these acts should be apprehended so that there is no repeat of these acts. And indeed, those others who may well want to do other similar things should know that they will be arrested on the spot by the police. That is what was prominent in my own mind and nothing else.
Well, were you aware, if you read on from what the chairperson has just pointed out to you, were you aware that the employees reported to be involved in the murder of Lonmin security guards had been identified and the information was with SABC?
No, I was not aware, Mr. Mpofu.
Well, you should have been, because there was an email to that effect sent to you on the 14th of August at 4:28 p.m.
Yes.
by Roger.
Yes, I was not aware of those details.
So that's the whole point. The point is that if the people had been identified, the information is with SABC, and as you say, the police must do what they normally do, then there's no need for you to be moving around, putting pressure to do what? Because what was being done was already being done. That's why I'm saying you were asking to act in a more pointed way than simply identifying the people who allegedly were involved in the murder. And that's exactly what they did. They acted in a more pointed way, because the following day they killed 34 people at your instigation.
So whether the phrase "at your instigation" is entirely justified.
Well, I'll get to that
But
now.
the first point you've got is, take out the "at your instigation," the police did on the following day kill 34 people. That's
Yes.
what's good. Now, what's the question you want to ask the witness based on that assertion?
Yes, what's the question?
Yeah, would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't agree with that it was at my instigation.
Okay.
I vehemently deny that.
Yes. Let's go there. Can you go to J 192? And keep at the back of your mind that you said you're going to apply pressure. Okay? J 192, page 9. Part of this was read to you. I think it ended, so I won't read the part that was already read to you.
Sure.
It ended somewhere.
Particular passage in that transcript I think you want to refer the witness to.
Yes, which
it's
is
not on the screen at the moment.
Oh, yes. Yes. No. Go back a little bit. Yes, it's that one. It's that one. This is, Mr. Ramaphosa, this conversation.
I think you need a couple of lines above what's on the screen at the moment.
Okay.
This
Yes.
is a passage that was read by Mr. Budlinder in his cross-examination.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right.
I was trying to avoid reading. That's why I said to the witness, what has been read, I will leave out. Can I paraphrase? The first part that was read by Mr. Budlinder relates to the National Commissioner taking into account the perceptions about the collusion. Provincial Commissioner, yes. And the National Commissioner, yes. Yes. That's exactly what Mr. Budlinder put to you, that the Provincial Commissioner and the National Commissioner had spoken about killing, quote-unquote, or discouraging a perception of collusion with AMCU. You remember that?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm not going to read that part, but the chairperson is right. That's the background.
But what you're interested in, I would think, is a bit not about line 15.
That's correct.
About arresting people.
Yes. It says there, but when I was speaking to Minister Mthethwa, it's a misprint, he mentioned a name to me, or rather, let me start just before. It says, because I think even when we were trying to talk about it last night, she being National Commissioner, asked me a question that says, well, this one, I'm not sure, because the Lonmin shareholders, I do not know much about them. Mr. Mukwena says, yes. Then the Provincial Commissioner says, but when I was speaking to Minister Mthethwa, he mentioned a name to me that is also calling him, that is pressurizing him. Unfortunately, it is a politically high individual, we can assume. You see that part?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you, on your side, were applying pressure. According to this, Minister Mthethwa, if this part is believed, will perceived what you are doing as pressurizing him, and then and Mr. Mukwena says it is Cyril. Remember that's not even a question mark. He makes a statement. He hasn't even heard the name. It just says there's someone who's pressurizing him, and he says it is Cyril. You see that?
Mr. Semenya wants to make a point.
Yeah.
Chair, the witness was not in the auditorium when the evidence was given by General Mbombo. in fairness, he must be told that General Mbombo's own evidence is that the word pressure was her own. It did not come from the minister.
Well, Chairperson, we've gone through this before. I don't understand.
That is correct.
I've said, that's why I use the words, if this evidence is believed, because the point of the matter, I don't want to take the witness through legalese about that we're going to argue that the explanation she gave was wishy-washy and so on. I'm saying if this evidence is taken at face value, let me put it that way, yeah, despite whatever explanations, good, bad, or indifferent, that were given, if this evidence is taken at its face value, it would at least suggest that the minister said to the commissioner that you were pressurizing him. Agreed?
Well, I don't know what the question is, because you yourself says if it is to be taken
yes,
at face value and if it is to be believed.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, I don't quite understand what the question is.
What is it you don't understand? I'm saying to you, understand perfectly well. Don't be evasive. I'm saying... No, it's being evasive. What is it?
I don't think he's being
It's not the first time I'm asking a postulative question.
I don't think he's being evasive. I think it's scope for misunderstanding, because the question is a little... No, please, anyone wants to say something, I suggest they go outside and say it. The question is a rather complicated hypothetical one, and I'm not quite sure that it's clear in its full ambit to me.
I'm sure.
But can I have an endeavour to summarise it as I
Yes, thank
understand?
you, Chairperson.
What the witnesses, what the provincial commissioner was saying was that the national commissioner had in turn reported. Is that right? No. Can we just have the bit ahead of page, the foot of page 9?
Yes.
No. What the provincial commissioner is saying is she spoke to Mr. Ntetwa, the minister Ntetwa, and he said to her that he'd had a conversation with Mr. Ramaphosa, and that he said that Mr. Ramaphosa had pressurised him. The witness then said, when she gave evidence here, that's the provincial commissioner, that word pressurise was not a word used by the minister to her, but was her attempt to summarise or repeat what had been said to her by the minister. Now, what you are asking the witness, Mr. Mpofu, as I understand it, is to say, if it is correct that the word pressurise was used in its ordinary sense, and if it is correct that what the minister had conveyed to the provincial commissioner was that Mr. Ramaphosa had pressurised him, or attempted to pressurise him, what is his comment on that? Is that a fair summary?
That's correct, Chairperson.
Right. Okay. Do you get it, Mr.
I did
you
not
understand the question?
I think I do now.
All right. Can you answer it now?
Yes, I did not pressurize the minister.
Yes. And okay, one of the other things we're going to argue, which is curious about this conversation, is that, as I say, after she uses the word pressurizing him, and unfortunately, mark that word, unfortunately.
On the next page, it's not on the screen.
Yes. Unfortunately, which means the pressure is quite uncomfortable.
No, I don't think that. What's unfortunate, it was a politically high individual, as you put it.
Yes, it was. Unfortunately, it's a politically high individual. Well, if it was a lightweight, I'm sure it would be fortunate. Right. What I'm saying is that, unfortunately, it is a politically high individual, and Mr. Mokoena says immediately, it is Cyril. Not, is it Cyril? He already knows who would have put that pressure.
What's the question? I'd like to take the tea, German, when this point's finished.
Yes.
But I think I must give you an opportunity to finish.
Yes,
round it off first.
Yeah. Do you see that Mr. Mokoena immediately identified the source of the alleged pressure?
He identified my name. That's what I see.
Yes. And then, she goes on to say, Cyril Ramaphosa, yes. Now, remember, when I was talking to the National Commissioner last night, she says to me, look, General, who are the shareholders here? So I said, I do not know the shareholders, but I know that when I spoke to the minister, he mentioned Cyril. So here she acknowledged that the minister mentioned you by name. And then she says, now I got it. You know why she says she got it? Remember, Cyril was in the appeal committee of Malema. Remember, you had that discussion with Mr. Patlender. And you agreed that this is an inappropriate consideration for the police.
Yes.
Remember, yes. And again, what is being said here is that connected to the pressure that you have exerted, steps, just listen to this, steps must be taken so that Mr. Malema does not come and resolve the problem. Remember, you are all about stopping the deaths and solving the problem. But here, it is being said that steps must be taken so that the situation is not diffused. In other words, because of your pressure, more deaths may have resulted because these people understood your pressure to be related to a desire not to resolve the problem if that solution was going to come from Mr. Malema. Surely that must be despicable. Would you agree?
I mean, I would agree that that's
Yes.
not
Thank you.
desirable.
Now,
I said that not to solve the problem is not
proper.
proper.
Or
as it
appropriate,
were.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, can we now take the tea, gentlemen? Mr.
Yes, Chairperson.
All right, with your permission, we'll adjourn for 15 minutes.
The council wanted to comment. Mike says.
What have you said?
Pasha. Kumnandi hlele phambili.
Hayi, andiseva nje ngoku.
Ziphi into zakho?
Ceka le nto.
I went to Rob Davis' press conference.
It was gone. Yeah. Where is the shot? It was gone. Yeah.
Malinga. Ask me something about. Okay. Tomorrow maybe the presentation. Are you okay with that? Is there anything in particular you want to highlight today? I wanted to see the lady show me the is it the presentation the one with the yes. Yeah, I think I'm fine. But is there anything when they speak? Is there anything in particular you want them to think about it, and then you can communicate with those type of things. You emailed that one to me. Which way? Okay, we will do. Of the statement. You don't want to. I'm so scared. And then there's another guy who wants to maybe get the meeting. So I said to him, okay, I'm going to but I want to fine, provided you also want to capture Malawi. Yes, yeah. I'll speak with the commissioner about that. If you prefer to go mean Malawi, business cards. Well, you are sitting somewhere, when you get a phone call, you get his contact details. Yeah, I have that. You do have that. Even the
right now. Ja, we moeten even het is
Yes, just to round off that. Again, reading from that passage, it's clear that here what was effectively being said is that the political considerations were not just being taken into account, as Mr. Badlander said, but that the political considerations would override the security considerations. Would you agree with that?
Well, I don't know whether you would call them political considerations.
Okay. Well, it must be political considerations if you say, don't let Malema come here and diffuse the situation so that the police can manage the situation. We've never heard of police who don't want to manage the situation, surely.
Mr. Chairman, it's obviously difficult to deal with other people's statements without knowing what their true intention was. To the extent that it would satisfy the honourable counsel here, I would say yes.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as you did yesterday. Okay.
What it amounts to is it appears that the desire was one of the considerations, if not the main consideration, was to prevent Mr. Malema getting any credit for diffusing the situation.
Yes.
And inasmuch as Mr. Malema at that stage was, I think, on his way to setting up his own political party and was a political figure in any event in the previous office that he held, there was a political aspect to the whole matter, it would appear.
I would agree, yes.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. And now we come to and then there's the thing about, once again, remember Malema's view is that the mines should be nationalized and so on, and you dealt with that with Mr. Badlander.
Yes, I did.
The issue here is, a commission of this size and magnitude can actually or certain issues can be resolved just by looking at one word or two words, given the millions of words that have been given out here. She then says, so it has got a serious connotation that we need to take into account.
No, you've gone
Oh,
far.
sorry, Chairman.
Yes,
After
no, it's
nationalised.
not your fault, not your fault. The operator. We've now got it. It's the line 28 on
Thank you.
Page 10 of this document.
Yes, after nationalized. Yeah. She said, so it has got, after she said, I once again remember Malema's views that mines should be nationalized and all that. So it has got a serious political connotation that we need to take into account, but which we need to find a way of diffusing. And this is the important word, hence. Hence. Hence, I just told these guys that we need to act such that we kill this thing. Immediately, yes, says Mr. Mokoena, and she says, when tomorrow we have to move in, if today we do not find cooperation in these people, we need to move in such that we kill it because, another important word, we need to protect a situation where any jig and jive from a political area, and then she gets interrupted.
That probably means Jack and Jill.
Yes, I should think so. Jack and Jill, Jig and Jeff, but
Ollie and Jeff, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, I'm sorry. Again, I'll paraphrase because we don't have time. What I'm really saying here, Mr. Ramaphosa, is that the use of those words hence, which means, because of or connected to the above and so on and so on. You know what hence means. And because those words allude to what I call the causal connection between your actions, which have been described there about, remember, he was in the appeal committee of Malema, and so on and so on and so on. And the timing, at the very least, of the operation, that it must happen immediately. I know that the operation, you can say, well, maybe it would have happened on another day and so on. That I'm not there. But I'm saying the mere fact that what she's saying here is that, hence, we must kill this thing, using those unfortunate words, immediately, and because we want to protect a situation where any Jack and Jill from a political area can claim responsibility, what the chair
credit, I think.
can get credit. Yeah. Now, that places you right at the center of the decision to rush with headlong haste and with the tragic consequences that we know followed.
Do you agree with that?
Would you agree with that?
I'm sorry. I would ask my learned friend on this point to please indicate either textually or by any other means what the reference to the witness in the passages earlier and then the issues around Mr. Malema, which is then introduced subsequently, and then the hence word,
okay.
how he makes these connections.
Sure.
I mean, you can't just sort of say, somewhere in the text I see different references.
He said sure, so it sounds as if he's going to exceed your request. Yes, Mr.
Yeah, no, that's very easy, Chairperson. The passage, I've been taking the witness along. I'll paraphrase. It says, Minister Mtetwa said Mr. Ramaphosa is pressurizing him. We've gone through that. Then she says, when I mentioned Cyril's name, the National Committee said, oh, now I've got it. And she says, do you know why she said she got it? She says, yes, because he was in the appeal committee of Malema. And remember, Malema solved the situation at Impala. We don't want him to come and solve it here. And he also wants mines to be nationalized. Hence, I just told you, these guys, that we need to act such that we kill this thing immediately. And then we need to move in such that we kill it because we need to protect a situation where any jig and jill from a political area, that's obviously still a reference to Mr. Malema, will take credit. That, I'm sorry, Mr. Ramaphosa, I was just answering to your counsel, but the short question to you is that this passage shows beyond any doubt that at the very least, the timing of the operation, we know what happened in the evening of the 15th. I won't take you there. That's got nothing to do with you as such. But the headlong haste with which this botched operation, if I may call it that, was then executed, was linked directly by the provincial commissioner who issued the order, by the way, to your pressure. That's all I'm saying. Whether that's correct, you put the pressure, you didn't put the pressure, you've already said that. I'm just saying that's what you are saying. Do you accept that?
No, I don't accept the connection,
Okay.
and I don't accept the pressure, and we differ on that.
Yes. You don't think the word hence and because show that that is linked to what goes below? Hence, we must kill this thing immediately. To you, is not linked.
No, it isn't.
It's not.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, just to crown it, if you go to just to show that, well, we're going to argue that the deaths that followed from this kind of conversation were foreseeable both to the provincial commissioner and to yourself. And to her, I've put whatever I've put to her to show that.
He's going to put them now, apparently.
Yes.
Why do you say, never mind the provincial commissioner, why do you say that the deaths that eventuated on the 16th were of a nature that they could have been or should have been or were foreseen, whichever the three you choose,
yes,
by the witness? That's
exactly what I'm going into. Just for reference, go to paragraph, or rather page 6.
This exhibit, triple J
of the
192.
same exhibit, yes.
Page 6, exhibit triple J 192. Yes. What line on page 6?
It's about 18, Chairperson. Or let's start at about 15. They talk. But I said, let us back now. Please remember we're tied up by these new, that's about 11, Chairperson. These new amendments in our laws that says you should not shoot, we should not do this. You know these things. You know from the Tatane incident, that's just a misprint, and all that. So I said to them, and once again, the other thing why I delayed them, remember what was happening yesterday. It was annoying to the cops, and we could have sent them there. Emotions are high. Emotions are very high, whatever instructions you will have given. But because the emotions, they would have forgotten about the instructions, yes. They will have forgotten about the instructions, and I do not want a situation where 20 people will be dead. And so it goes. That passage would show that at least because of the emotions that were running high, one of the things that was foreseeable was that if the police move in, she was wrong by 14 people. 20 or more people.
No, Mr. Pufo, I'm sorry. I don't think the passage you're putting will bear the weight you seek to put on it. What she said is my people, she's talking on Tuesday afternoon, you remember, Tuesday the 14th. She said she delayed her people, as she calls them, from going in on the Tuesday morning.
I know.
Why? Because of what had happened on the Monday, where police were killed and so forth. And the emotions were running very high. So, and she goes on to say, because when Marikana actually also says it, if they'd gone in on the Tuesday, emotions were still running in high, whatever instructions I'd given them to make sure they didn't shoot and didn't injure people would have been ignored. Because as Marikana puts it, they would have forgotten about the instruction, and she says they would have forgotten about the instruction.
And kill people.
So what I'm saying to you is that the passage that you're now putting appears to be primarily based upon her fear that if they'd been allowed to go in on the Tuesday morning, their emotions would have been high, and they would have forgotten her instructions to act carefully and so on. So then she says that's why they must go in tomorrow, i.e. Wednesday. They, in fact, didn't go in Wednesday for reasons that you and I know we don't worry the witness with. And in fact, she sent them in on the Thursday with the consequences which the whole world unfortunately knows about.
Yes, I know, Chairperson, but with the greatest respect, we've gone through this before. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know what's magical. If the emotions were high within a particular period, such that you could predict the death of 20 people, I don't know that you can say, oh, now the clock has just ticked. It's 20 past, it's gone past midnight. Therefore, you can go in. It doesn't work like that. Emotions don't work like that. But the point I'm
Chair,
making...
I'm sorry, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Melinda,
sorry.
but just so that we can move on, because time is short, I'm not certain how any of this, concerning what state of mind the Commissioner was in at the time she spoke of these matters, is linked to the witness.
Yes. No, fair enough.
Perhaps if my learned friend could explain some linkage by which he is trying to explore foreseeability.
Yes. No, if you listened, I had said I'm giving this as a background about the Commissioner. I'm now coming to the witness. That's exactly what I'm doing. You know, as everybody does, that or at least you knew that a policeman had been killed on the Monday, on the 13th, correct?
Yes.
And you know that when, as is alluded here, when police, even one policeman, let alone two, have been killed, then anywhere in the world for that matter, the police will come down like a ton of bricks, as it were, and that emotions run high, generally.
What's the question to this witness about
Do
his
you know,
state of mind?
that is the question, do you know that when that happens, emotions run high and the police come down on the situation?
I wouldn't know.
You've never heard of this?
No, I wouldn't know, Mr.
Okay,
Mpofu.
that's fine.
Yeah,
if you've
I
never
wouldn't
heard
know.
of it, you have never heard of it.
Yeah.
You are in the minority. What I want to put to you that answer is not truthful, and that because
what basis does my learned friend have to call the witness a liar?
Mr. Natalta, I take he's going to give us the basis now.
Yes.
Well, so far we've had...
No, but
there's no so far. I'm still talking.
he hasn't finished the question. Let him
I'm sorry. Let my learned friend lay his factual foundation for calling the witness a liar. Let's hear the facts
Yes.
for once.
You know,
No, I didn't. We don't say liar in this commission. We say untruthful, which is more
It's
or
a
less.
distinction without a difference
Yeah.
if you don't have a factual
Well,
foundation.
say that to the chairperson. He's the one who made that ruling. I agree with you. But I'm putting to you that it is a well-known fact that once police killings happen, in fact, it's also related to some of the passages that I read to you about what the government ministers have been saying about killing of policemen or when they are in danger, all the gung-ho stuff, that the police react, and I must say, in favor of our police force. It's not a uniquely South African thing. In anywhere, when a policeman has been killed or is a so-called cop killer on the loose, the police come out in full force to avenge or to act against the cop killers, so-called. That's the basis upon which I'm saying you are denying the obvious. Everybody knows it.
Well, I know that when a police is killed, and the police usually get extremely concerned about that killing.
Yes. Thank you. And therefore, armed with that knowledge, it should have been foreseeable to you that in that atmosphere, to instigate and put pressure and all the things that we've said on the police, with the result that they brought, quite literally, guns blazing, the Special Task Force, the NIU, what have you, 50 people with machine guns who finally mowed down those 34 people. That kind of reaction, one doesn't have to be a genius to predict that it's like trying to put a fire by pouring petrol on it. That's what you were doing. Or oil. I think the chairperson corrected me before. You understand the gist of what I'm saying. And that's what is on the basis of that theory, which I will advance, that I say you could foresee that there could be a disaster. Would you agree?
I did not foresee all this. In
Yes.
fact, I did not foresee all the events that unfolded on that fateful day.
Sure.
Yes.
You should have foreseen. That's what we will argue. If you did not foresee, you should have foreseen. but that's something we'll argue at the end.
Well,
Understand?
Chair, again, it's not a matter of argument. If the proposition is that there was some duty to have foreseen, in the sense that it ought to have been foreseen, again, in fairness to a witness, one has to place facts from which you can derive a duty.
I don't think a duty is required. All it would be required would be something foreseeable by a reasonable man in the circumstances.
Well,
and that, as you correctly say, is a question of argument.
Yes.
He's just putting it to the witness so that he can't be accused later, not that I would accuse him later, and not having put it to the witness to give him a chance to do
Chair,
that.
it's not a matter of a conclusory argument. It's a question of if you mean to place certain facts from which you derive a conclusion on reasonable foreseeability or subjective foreseeability, you have to put those facts clearly and squarely. All that we've heard is a long account as to what will be argued. Well, what are the facts that are being advanced? And that's all it's just in simple fairness, because ultimately, Chair, you won't be in a position to make conclusions if the facts that are relied upon haven't been fairly and squarely put to the witness. So what are the facts?
Well, Chairperson, I've put the fact, whether my learned friend likes it or not, or you eventually like it or not, is another matter.
The witness conceded that he's aware of the fact that the police reacted a particular way when one of their colleagues has been killed. And I think the argument, the way I see it, the argument is going to be based on no more than that.
Thank you.
So
On that, we're quite content.
It's been put to the witness. The witness doesn't agree with it, as far as I can make out. Is that right?
I know.
You don't agree with the proposition? Been put to you by Mr. Wolfe.
I don't.
Okay, Mr. Wolfe, next one.
Yes. We're also going to argue that your excuse or your defense, if one can even call it that, which really runs something like this. I wanted to save lives. I wanted criminals to be arrested. I was only a non-executive director. The things were not linked. That those don't hold water, particularly because you agreed with Jamieson that they must bring the police and the army. How was the army going to achieve what you wanted to be achieved?
Is that the question?
That is the question. Yes.
The army was never brought in, was it?
Pardon?
The army was not brought in.
No,
As far as the police being brought in is concerned, I have answered that question before.
No.
And I have said we wanted that the police should be brought in so that they can stabilize the situation.
Mr. Jamieson did speak about police / army, which meant all army.
Yes.
You didn't speak to the Minister of Defence, as I understand it.
No, I
Which
didn't.
you would have had to do, or the President, to get the army there.
Indeed,
You spoke to the Minister of Police. He was the person who would be able to speak to the National Commissioner in relation to deployment of the police.
That is correct.
No, that's not the point, with the greatest respect. The point is that you've agreed with Mr. Jamieson's characterization, which said the situation could only be resolved by political intervention and the bringing in of the police or the army. You agreed with that?
Yes.
Yes. And as it happens, the National Union of Mine Workers, either by coincidence or by some conspiracy, also issued a statement dated the 30th of August. I think you...
Chair, one can't put a proposition either by coincidence or by conspiracy. If there's going to be a conspiracy alleged, then it must be explained on what precise factual and evidential basis a conspiracy has been intended for, because that is a long way away from coincidence.
Yes, Mr. Tip, what is happening, as I understand it, Mr. Mpofu, right near the end of his cross-examination, because his time is running out, let's give him a chance. He's going to put a statement to his issue. He's then, presumably, once he's put a question to the witness about it, he's going to indicate that he's going to argue, I presume on some kind of governance Skidmore basis, sort of civil circumstantial evidence basis, that it indicates something sinister.
Yeah.
But anyway, whether the argument will be a good one or bad one is something
for
we'll
another
deal with
day.
when we hear it. But let's hear what he wants to put to the witness. Is it a new exhibit, is it?
No, Chairperson, it's triple B7, it's an old one.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's put triple B7 up on the screen now.
Next,
the statement issued on the Monday. Statement issued on the Monday, the 13th.
Yes.
in relation to what had happened on, it must have been the Monday evening, because it's
That's
on the
correct.
Monday. It relates to what happened on the Monday, including the events on the Monday afternoon.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then it says, from we call for the deployment of a special task force, that is of the police, or the SANDF to deal decisively with the criminal
Sorry, that part's not on the screen. It's just the foot of the page.
In Rasberg and its surrounding mines, said Franz Baleni and so on and so on. The point I'm making here is so that I can not...
I interrupted you, Mr. Pope. Let's get it straight, fairness to you. What is in quotation marks is, I think it's the second paragraph. We call for the deployment of a special task force, which presumably would be the police,
yes,
or the SANDF, to deal decisively with the criminal elements in Rustenburg and its surrounding mines, unquote, says Franz Baleni, the NUM General Secretary.
Yes.
So they've got the General Secretary part right. And your point presumably is linked to the fact that Mr. Jamison, I think it was, also spoke about the police or army.
Yes.
That's your point. Anyway,
yes.
Put your question to the witness.
The question is, and in fairness, the witness, I think, alluded to this yesterday. The point I'm making here, Mr. Ramaphosa, is that this call coincided exactly with the call of Mr. Jamison, or at least to the extent that it calls for the army and the police. Or the police, yes, on both counts. You accept that?
Yes.
Yes. And whether it's a coincidence or not and so on will be debated on another day. Now, what I want to put to you to round this off is that because all the actions that you took, which we've explored extensively, and because the issue of political pressure would obviously be unlawful, or at least against the spirit of the Constitution, you would agree with that? Placing political pressure would be unlawful.
Political pressure on who? On the minister?
For example, the minister, so that they can lean on the operational people, and then they lean on the other operational people, and then they kill people. That would be unlawful.
Yes.
Yes. And the fact that, as I said, because of who you are, because of your experiences and so on, you know about the history of collusion between the police and mines more than anyone else probably in the country, correct?
Yes, in the past, yes.
Yeah, in the past.
That, yes.
Yeah, well, and we've all established that nothing much has changed in the industry to date, correct?
I have no evidence of that.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We'll argue that because of that, you as I said earlier, and all the other factors, foresaw or should have foreseen that your pressure, such as you called it in your emails, would result, as we will argue it did, in the killing of the 34 people at least. Then, I'm sorry, I'm putting all these things together. In relation of the 10 deaths, we're going to argue that you are responsible for those deaths, and I'm now talking criminal responsibility of the 34 and the 10, because had you performed your duty to ensure that the mine negotiates, instead of saying, let's see what happens in the next day or something, as you said, then those 10 deaths could possibly have been avoided, at the very least. You understand the theory?
I hear you.
You don't agree with it, I know.
Of course, I don't agree with you.
Yes.
Completely.
Yes. And on the basis of those actions and your part in that chain of causality, as it were, where you brought the pressure, it was transmitted to Minister Mtetwa, transmitted down to General Mbombo, who gave the instruction or rather made the decision on the 15th, and which was executed on D-Day, which was the following day. On the basis of that, we are going to ask the Commission to recommend that you be charged with murder alongside the people who pulled the trigger and other role players in the domestic courts.
I don't want any interruptions or heckling.
Thank you, Chairperson.
We're trying to listen to what Mr. Mpofu said. I've spoken about that previously. I don't want to have to clear the chamber at this stage. It's Mr. Mpofu, repeat the question. I couldn't hear it properly because some ill-mannered, rude person interrupted. And made
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'll summarize it. We're going to argue, Mr. Ramaphosa, that you be charged with murder alongside other of the people that I've mentioned, Minister Mtetwa, National Commissioner, some of the generals, right up to the people who pulled the trigger, because that whole chain is what was responsible. At the top of the chain is your putting pressure, which resulted in the immediacy or timing of the situation. You know what I mean. I'm trying to round it off, but that based on what you and I have discussed, that's the recommendation we will make. Do you have any comment?
Well, clearly, you taken considerable amount of time building this proposition,
yeah,
and reaching to the conclusion that you have now come to, that all manner of people should be charged criminally,
yeah,
for the deaths of all the people at Marikana. I deeply regret the deaths of all the people who died at Marikana.
Absolutely.
Deeply.
He killed them. This man killed the people in Marikana. He killed them. He's a killer for profit. He's a sellout. Must be charged for murder. Yeah. He's a sellout, this man, for profit.
Can you go?
I will leave.
Okay.
But he's a sellout, this man. Yeah. He's a sellout, this man. He should be told the capitalists are using him.
Chairperson. All right. Last.
For profit. Murderer. Protecting your shares that loan me.
All right. Chairperson, I'm sorry.
18 million buffalo. People are hungry in Venda. You can't even give them food. Jeez, man.
And lastly,
no, this is a
Mr. Mpofu, wait for these people to leave. All right, please leave the room.
Right.
Leave the room and close the door.
Thank you, Chairperson. Okay.
Right.
For the sake of time and
yes, your time is up, but
and the temperature.
The witness, I think, was busy answering the question. Had you finished your reply, Mr. Ramaphosa?
I had finished, and I was saying that I deeply regret, and as I was interrupted, the deaths of all those people who died at Marikana. I do not agree with the proposition that the learned advocate has put forward. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Mpofu.
Chairperson, yes, literally two short ones, Chairperson.
No, your time is up, Mr. Mpofu.
I know, Chairperson.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mpofu. Your time is up.
Chairperson, can I just round off one issue? It's very important.
What's the issue?
It's I wanted to refer to Mr. Pasha, who has asked me to put one proposition to Mr. Ramaphosa.
One proposition?
Yes, one.
But one?
Yeah. Mr. Ramaphosa, Mr. Pasha here sitting next to me is a gentleman who lost his big toe in the shootout on the 16th. He's also a gentleman who has been working in the mines for more than 30 years. He joined the NUM in 1982 when it was formed. And he specifically asked me to say to you that as someone who used to be his hero, and as somebody who is now in high office, he does not believe that even if I put the proposition that I put to you, which is that you should be charged criminally, But he also believes that because of your current position and the other positions of the politicians that I've mentioned, that we should also make a recommendation, successfully or not, to the chairperson that you and those people should be charged criminally in the International Criminal Court. Do you have any comment?
You comment on that?
I don't agree with that proposition.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mpofu. Mr. Untauter.
Thank you, Chair. If I might summarize a central part of what has been a long cross-examination, it seems to come down to three propositions, and I want to ask you a couple of short questions about each. The first proposition is to suggest that you placed pressure on ministers to cause the police to take extreme measures to suppress the strike, including a shoot-to-kill policy or something akin to it. Secondly, that that pressure was understood as such by the ministers concerned, and they took action in consequence, and that in the light of that you should have foreseen, when the events of the 16th occurred, you should have foreseen what happened there, because it followed from the very kind of pressure that you were seeking to place on the ministers. That appears to be, in a nutshell, the three propositions that are pursued. So if I could take each one of them in turn. When it is said of you that you sought to pressure or in some way instigate the ministers to cause the police to take extreme measures against the strike to suppress it, including shooting to kill, could you just convey to us again what precisely you said to each of the ministers, so we can be clear what so-called pressure you sought to apply?
Mr. Chairman, what I sought to do as I was getting all these reports about people dying and being killed, as I said, in the most brutal way, I felt that I was duty-bound as a non-executive director and as a concerned South African and as a person who did have access to those who could do something about the situation that was spiraling out of stability in the Marikana area. I then took it upon myself to, yes, call the Minister of Police, who I know quite well and talk to often, and I called him and said, this is the situation that is unfolding on the Platinum Belt, and people are getting killed, and it behoves on the police to intervene in a way that will prevent the further loss of life and prevent further deaths happening. And I did say what would be helpful is that in order to prevent further loss of life, those who are perpetrating those acts should be arrested so that they do not participate in those actions on an ongoing basis and kill more people. I also took it upon myself to talk to the Minister of Minerals Resource Development, Ms. Susan Shabangu, and I implored on her to make sure that she communicates with the Minister of Police so that we prevent all further loss of death, loss of life rather, and that further injuries do not take place. And it was in that vein that I also discussed with her the way that she had characterized the situation, because with the information that was being put to me by the management people, Mr. Jemison, Mr. Mukwena, and others, the picture that was being drawn for me on the canvas was that there was a serious situation of unrest, of instability, and the mine security people had lost complete control,
and people were just being killed and there was mayhem. And so therefore, I implored on her to make sure that whomsoever could bring about any type of influence to bring stability to the place should do so. And my main objective, as I have said, sir, was to make sure that we don't lose further lives. That was the sole objective. There was no other agenda. I did not even foresee that further deaths would ensue when police sought to intervene and took action.
Did you say or imply to either minister that the kind of action that you envisaged or recommended to them was the strongest, most coercive intervention by the police or the army?
I never sought to prescribe to the two ministers what type of action should be taken, other than just saying the police should do their normal work. And their normal work, as I described it, was that people should be arrested. It is when people are arrested for perpetrating crimes that those who might either get tempted to do the same realize that this is not the best thing to do. So that is the sum total of my communicating to them the details of what needed to be done. Further than that, I did not communicate anything.
Did either of the ministers say anything to you which would give you the impression that what they were then going to do, or what they understood you to want, was extreme coercive measures by the police or the army? Did they say anything to you that conveyed that impression?
No, none of the ministers conveyed any of that to me.
And then lastly, on this line of questioning,
what exactly did they say? Can you remember? You say they didn't say anything about extreme coercive action, but what did they say?
Well, much of what they said was that they will look into the situation and they will talk to their people on the ground. That's the sum total of what Minister Mteto said. So, to me, he never responded by giving me details of what would be done. From my side, it was more, Minister, let the police do their work, let them arrest those who are perpetrating these acts. So the detail was never really covered, and there was no coercion.
Mr. Shabangu?
Minister Shabangu, less so about what specifically needed to be done. Safe to say, we need police on the ground. Could she also communicate that to the Minister of Police so that we can forestall or stop whatever other further acts of violence can take place?
What did she say about the President?
What she said about the President, it was my request, really. I thought that she had gone to Cape Town because there was going to be a cabinet meeting. As it turns out, there was no cabinet meeting but a cabinet committee meeting. And I said, could she also communicate this to the President? She said she will also inform the President about what is happening.
Was there, from what you've now conveyed to us of what you said to the ministers and what the ministers said to you, did you have any reason to think on the basis of that exchange that the events that did unfold on the 16th were likely, foreseeable, possible in any way?
No, I never even began to think or even foresaw that the events of the 16th would unfold. Not at all.
It was also put to you in a separate theory of foresight that because the police are disposed, so it was contended, to revenge the killings of their members, that when you recommended that the police presence be increased and that actions be taken, it was foreseeable that the kinds of events that unfolded on the 16th would occur. Well, firstly, did you so foresee it?
No, I did not foresee all that much, as I had received reports that 2 of the people who had lost their lives were police. I did not foresee that sending more police would mean or could mean that some of them could want to take revenge. I did not foresee that.
What indeed was your expectation of what more police might do to the situation?
My expectation about more police presence in that situation was that, one, they would stabilize the situation, and that with their mere presence, they would be able to bring a measure of stability in the area, and that they would also go about their normal task of finding out precisely what acts of crime had been committed and how the people who had already been killed and who had perpetrated those acts, and that would be followed up by arresting those who had been involved in perpetrating those acts. That is what I did foresee.
Can I then finally come to the question of characterization, which was much debated with you? If I could ask you this to begin with. If all that had happened during August was that workers had gone out on an unprotected strike, would you ever have considered that conduct alone to constitute criminal conduct?
No, I would not have characterized that as criminal conduct, that is, workers going on an unprotected strike.
So if I could then finally take you to B 4.5, which is page 16 of the bundle, your bundle. In the much debated passage in your email of the 15th of August to Mr. Jamison.
We need the lower part of this slide, yes, thank you.
It is the lower part. It's the bit that begins the terrible events.
It's now on the screen.
So if I could just pick up the language in that third paragraph, it says the terrible events that have unfolded cannot be described as a labour dispute. They are plainly, dastardly criminal and must be characterized as such. What were you referring to when you referred to the terrible events?
I was referring, as I said, when I said dastardly criminal act, I was referring to the killing of the people who had already died, the injuries that had been inflicted on some of the people, and the terrible way in which some of the people had been killed, where they were burnt in their vehicles and their body parts were cut out, and it was just a gory picture that was painted to me. That is what I was referring to as acts of criminality.
And did the terrible events in any way refer to the fact that workers had gone out on an unprotected strike? Was that any part of what you were referring to when you referred to the terrible events?
No.
Thank you, Chair. Those are our questions.
No. Thank you, Mr. Donner. Yes, thank you, Mr. Ramaphosa. You'll be excused on the usual basis that if it's necessary for you to come back, you'll come back without having to serve a subpoena upon you. I don't know that will be necessary, but it's what I say to every witness when I excuse them.
Could I say thank you to you, and thank you for the
Ramaphosa
that you are doing.
Mr. Ramaphosa.
I'd like to thank you.
No, please stop that. We don't want, you may not.
Ufuna uba udulingane nosibari wakho.
No, please, take the microphone away from him and remove him from the chamber. Sorry, Mr. Ramaphosa, it sounds as if You've finished your evidence. I've excused you.
Thank you.
And I think we can ignore this unfortunate incident that's taking place simultaneously with my excusing you. Oh, sorry, do you want to say something in response to what was said by I think it was Mr.
No, I don't want to say. I don't want to say all that.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Thank you. We'll adjourn till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Usithi kusasa.